inspiration. Where do you find it? Where does your inspiration come for your stories? Do they just appear in your dreams? Do you think
I
through
I
them?
I have had quite a few dreams. Yes, my first mystery was a dream, actually.
That's awesome.
It was just the detective laying everything out of what the crime was and how he solved it and blah blah blah.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was my first mystery. But yeah, I just kind of get inspiration from anything. I'll
Mhm.
see someone walking down the street and an idea will pop into my head. I'll, watch a movie and one little scene or one little line in it sparks an entirely unrelated idea. So yeah, I don't know. I can't not get ideas.
Yeah, that's
Can't
that's
not
how I am too.
get inspired. I can't even count the number of notes I've made on possible stories that I want to write at some point.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, that's mine. Came from the story that I'm working on now, that I've been working on forever, is a series. But the idea came for I was working in a factory and
mhm.
I was just doing like assembly line, like nothing, very menial, no like brain
Yeah,
power
your brain was
required
free
work.
to create.
Yep. And then my brain all of a sudden was like, what if this and this and that, and then it all just kind of came
Yeah.
together. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
think
do you,
I think that's why people get ideas the most when they're like doing dishes or house chores or showering or something, because
mhm.
your brain is free to think and
Oh,
create.
I've definitely done the whole like doing the dishes and then oh crap, I gotta write this down. And then I have, like your hands are all wet and you're
Dirty
trying to
hands.
find a,
I think I read something
pen.
that Agatha Christie, that's how she plotted her stuff. She just did dishes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
It's where she
that's
got all her
awesome.
best ideas.
Yeah. And I saw in part of your bio too, I was just reading a lot of stuff where you like the kind of 1920s, 1940s. Is that
Yeah.
any reason for that, or you just like it?
Not really. I don't know. I watched a lot of like old movies as a kid,
Hmm.
so I just kind of like the vintage vibe. And I'll come up with an idea and then it's kind of like, oh, that would be more fun in the 50s or that would be more fun, you know, in an old timey setting or something. So
Yeah, that's a cool
that
writing
was just kind of gets
exercise.
that flair. But
Yeah, it was a much more idyllic time, that's for sure. Yeah, that's a cool writing exercise though, to take like some idea you have and then be like, what would it be
yeah,
like if it was in
fantasy
the
in the 20s.
Mhm. Yeah, that'd be cool. There was a Netflix movie a few years ago. It was a Will Smith movie that it wasn't very good, I don't think, but it
Oh,
was like a,
the modern day fantasy one?
yeah, where it was like elves and
What's that
orcs
one
and
called?
yeah, I don't remember what it was called. I remember watching it thinking like it wasn't terrible. It was a cool idea, but they didn't really like pull
Yeah,
it off.
yeah,
Um, but I don't think a
that's
lot of
always a
people.
shame.
It is. Yeah, it was definitely. I remember watching it, just being like, "This is a really great idea." They didn't quite do it, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah, that's cool. So self-published. Everything you've done
Mm.
is self-published. And what kind of advice would you have for writers who are first off just writing? Maybe they're first getting into writing or they're coming up with their first ideas, but then also maybe even transitioning to like maybe they're gonna go publish. Like, what kind of advice would you have around those things?
Like self-publishing?
Yeah.
I don't know that I have a whole lot of self-publishing advice. Um, Trying to think.
Or maybe just even for someone who is starting out writing and they're just getting into it and they're not sure like where to start or, you know.
I think I can't remember who said it, but there was a writer that was saying, sort of starting small, like, because I started with shorter things,
Hmm.
and now at this point I can't not write novels most of the time. Um, so just starting with something small is less daunting. I've known a lot of writers who they try to dive into a novel or a 3 book series or something like that and never finish it because it's just too much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say if you're just starting out, start with like short stories or novellas or something like that. Just like a novella, I feel like is a really good place to start because you can do a proper plot
Mhm.
with the beginning, middle, end, and twists, but it has to be simple and it can't have too much going on, so it's like a practice novel almost.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
short stories are almost I mean, you kind of have that structure, beginning, middle, end,
Yeah.
but
Well, it
kinda
also just
not.
builds the habit of getting things finished and knowing
Yeah.
that you can finish things, and you're you have to write, like, tight, punchy sentences and stuff. You have to keep it tight because you can't let it get too long. So
Mhm.
I think it finesses your writing in that way too, because you
Yeah.
can't meander. You have to,
Helps you reduce the
yeah.
words and
Well,
yeah.
but just also make every word count,
Yeah.
because it's not really fun writing something where you can tell they were just kind of trying to pad it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want everything to be necessary to the story.
Mhm.
So,
So, I find when I write, I'm kind of a serial underwriter, so, like,
mm,
I never write I write through a scene, and then I'll feel like I wrote so much, and then I maybe only wrote 1,000 words or something, and then
I
or then I
started as an underwriter. I could
yeah.
only do like short stories.
So
And
then did you go
then,
back and, like, fill it in again? Like, is that, like or how did
um,
you do that?
no, I usually try and let the story just be as long as it needs to be.
Mhm.
But my first novel was supposed to be like a short story or novella. And then it ended up not from me trying to pad it, just me having too much that I wanted to fit in there.
Mhm.
It ended up being like 90,000 words or something. So, and then this latest novel, which is a prequel to the first one, um, that one's like 100,000. So, and that one was supposed to be shorter than the first because it was just sort of
Right.
supposed to be a small prequel. But so I think, yeah, I don't know. It's with practice, I think you can get out of the underwriting
Mhm.
with just the more you write, the more things you have to say.
Yeah.
And so then it just sort of naturally happens rather than trying to make it bigger than it was meant to be.
Right. Or even like one of the things, I get through a scene and I like got all the story beats in there, but then I
Mhm.
realized like I didn't really describe anything. So
Right,
like
yeah.
nobody knows what anything looks like, or I didn't describe this character, or I didn't put in like this section of dialogue that explains
I
something.
feel like I always do that on my first drafts. People I don't describe what people look like. I don't describe the scene very well. I have to, like, go back and add all that stuff.
Yeah. I sometimes I get through a scene and then I'm like, I don't even know if I know what this character totally looks like.